just want to pause there because I went past local board input. I just need to check I did have a conversation with the chair of the Rodney Local Board, Phelan Perry, last night. Phelan is with us. Phelan, did you want to make a short statement before we hear from the officers on item 8? Sorry, say again. Well, you're best to do it before, otherwise you won't be informing our decision making.
Thank you, thank you. I just, a couple of things, support the idea in principle. However, spatial land use frameworks is just a horrific title for it. I think the concern I have is that it's going to confuse people in the community who think it's somehow a structure plan, and it's not. I think also that it has the potential to confuse real estate agents who tend to be easily confused on these things, who will then start rushing around waving maps in the air going, oh, you can buy this piece of land and it's going to be turned into this, or you'll get this value uplift. So I do think we need to be crystal clear about what's being achieved here. I mean, my suggestion would be that it's an infrastructure and transport study to inform the detailed business cases that are being done. And if you use the term study, we're not getting into the term plan, which I believe staff didn't want to use. But a spatial land use framework is really confusing. I can't see any other example of them being used anywhere else in Auckland. So I do just have a concern about that, but perhaps that's something that the working group could sort out. But yeah, that being very clear with planning about what's being done and why is really important, that that's communicated well. Thank you.
Thank you, Phelan. Any questions of Phelan, members? Very clear, Phelan. Thank you. We'll pick those points up when we come to the paper, and we'll go to the paper now. And we'll hear from Dave Paul and Peter Vary. So Dave Paul is the principal planner and main author of the report, with Peter Vary, team leader, plans and places. And we don't have John Dogood yet, but I don't think we require him for this paper. I think it's in good hands. And who would like to lead? Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just very briefly outline what the project's about, and I'll also address the question that the local board chair raised as well. The Supporting Growth Alliance have been working on detail or business cases for transport projects across the region, and they previously did a series of indicative business cases, and they are now working on detailed business cases for key transport projects. In terms of the north, the key element of the transport network that we're looking at is the rapid transit network, which will either be busway or possibly rail, but that's to be determined down the path. But to be able to identify those RTN route options with a view to then going to protect those routes, they need to have some idea of what the key land uses might be in those areas. So this project, which is distinct from a structure plan, is only identifying those key land uses that are going to be critical to the operation of the RTN. We're not looking at all of the suite of land uses that would occur, only those that are critical to the RTN. So that distinguishes it from a structure plan for a start. We actually quite carefully selected the title because it is important that we recognise that it is land use, that it is spatial. It's talking about identifying places on the ground. And we used the word framework to elevate it above plan, to just differentiate it from structure plan. Now, we can change the name, we can call it whatever you like, but we thought that that kind of pitched it quite nicely between the development strategy and the Auckland plan and detailed structure plans. So we'll be working through with the Supporting Growth Alliance team to work up some land use scenarios for the key elements for the Dairy Flat, Silverdale, Wainui future urban zoned areas, and also the Kumiu Huapai areas. There'll be a consultation phase. Support and Growth are consulting on their emerging preferred options when they get to that point for the detailed business cases. And the land use component will be consulted on closely with that, because we want to make sure that there's a clear connection between the land uses we're proposing and the transport infrastructure project that's going on. And again, to differentiate from a structure plan process. So what we're looking for is approval to carry on and do that work, given we're going to go out to the public later in the process. And I've suggested setting up a political working party to sign off on the drafts that will go out for consultation probably around October, November. That's all that I wanted to say.
Thank you, Dave. Look, I will move those motions. Do I have Councillor Sayers on the line at the moment? Councillor Sayers, if you're there, would you like to second?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. Yes, I would like to second and follow up with the question later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sayers. So it's moved and seconded. Questions? Councillor Sayers, we'll come straight back to you with your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I just really want to back up my chair, Phelan, in terms of his request. I really appreciate them for the explanation around the title, and that all makes good sense. I just wonder, I think there is wisdom in considering swapping out just one word, the word plan for study. I do support that. I do think it's appropriate along with the rest of the wording in the title, Mr. Chair. So my question is, and I think I heard the answer there, but just to verify that there is a possibility just to tweak that title. Is there? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
Wonder if we, Dave, if you want to come back to the delegated group, you'll have some time in between now and then to consider that, because while I can hear framework study, I don't know what those two words mean in the context of what you're wanting to achieve precisely. So I'm wondering if we can come back and resolve that at a later date, as recommended by the chair of the Rodney board.
Yes, that would be fine. I mean, I just want to reiterate that the word plan doesn't appear in the title as it is. The only thing I would say at the moment is that a study implies a process, whereas this is actually going a bit further than that. It's actually coming up with an output, and that's why it's setting something down on the ground spatially. So that's why framework fitted. But I'm relaxed. I'm not really bothered what we call it.
That's why I'm
it's what it says
suggesting we don't go and rename it now on the hoof. We'll do it
Thank you.
later on, and we'll consider your feedback at that time. Other questions, members? Councillor Philippine.
It's not a question, just a comment. Is that okay now?
Look, I think I don't think there are any questions after yours, so we'll begin with comments now. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think this comment's going to be helpful, but I'm going to say it. If the name is the only issue that the local board has, I think we're in a good space. I really do. And I just think it's about getting the work done. That's all. I know it's not useful, but I just needed to say that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Philippine. Quite accurate. Anything else, members? Now, this is a really good structure plan. There's some way out, and we need to make a move there. So this is...
Excuse me, Chair, I had a question. I did email the question. It's Leanne Ngamane. I did email the question this morning to Dave.
Kia ora, Leanne. We have a question from member Ngamane. Dave, do you have that question?
I did, but I left it on the photocopy. I'm going to get John a copy. I can recall what it was about.
Can I ask to be clear for the members? Member Ngamane, would you like to repeat your question?
Sure. I just it was a simple question around have looked at the iwi engagement to date, and we followed up with a few queries. Our secretariat did, and we got a response back. Thank you. I guess my question is, moving forward, what will you do to ensure that all iwi are engaged in the process, noting that there were a couple of iwi, particularly in the northern areas, that didn't appear to be part of the process. So that's essentially my question.
Yes, I can answer that. The list of iwi groups that are in the paper were the ones that the Support and Growth Alliance was engaged with, and there was 3 missing from the northern area. But all of those groups were invited to be part of the process and had, for one reason or another, elected not to be directly involved, although I understand one of them is coming back into the process now. In terms of our work, Council's work, we will do our normal engagement with the Northern iwi groups as we go through the development of the framework.
Kia ora, Dave. May I just ask another question in respect to that? A couple of the, I guess, approaches in the earlier engagement process, I would like to think that isn't a part of the normal engagement process, i.e. dropping iwi off comms because they declined meetings. So I just want to be assured that the normal engagement process is going to engage with everybody that needs to. That's all.
Yes, that's the case, and it's also the case from the Support and Growth teams as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Namani, and I'm assuming that you are likely to be the Independent Māori Statutory Board member, subject to your board decision-making, of course, on the working party. But I assure you we'll be following up to ensure that those gaps are closed. Okay, anything further to add? Any comments, members? Okay, it is moved, myself, and seconded by Councillor Sayers. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you. We will